Hello everybody, how are you doing? Welcome to a brand new video. This is a video of while I was away in Brussels. I thought, you know what, WorldKarts is not far away. I drove there and yeah, thought I'd join in one of their competitive races, especially as a little bit of practice for one of their championship events later on in 2025. And I really threw myself in the deep end with this one. This is a competitive race. You're going to see some of the worst driving from me in this because I have thrown myself into an event which is a new layout. I've never done it before. New karts, never driven these karts before in this layout. I've driven this track twice before over the last 2 years, but that is it. 2 visits in 2 years, but they change it up every year, this place, and they've really stepped it up this year. I think you'll agree that this track is very well designed, very aesthetically pleasing, and you know, new Sodi karts, that's not going to go amiss for me. I do like Sodi karts, but abroad, especially here in this track, it just feels so different to drive compared to the UK karts and UK surfaces as well. It's just so much grip here. It's all very, very responsive, and these karts in particular are a lot more oversteery than the previous set of karts that they had. But you're going to see here, literally got 3 or 4 laps to get a decent lap time in. This is a qualifying. We're getting 4 laps in a qualifying. No other sort of warm-up or practice. You're thrown straight into this, and you know, obviously I'm basically the only driver who's not from Europe. Well, the actual Europe. Obviously UK is overseas, but I believe it was mostly Belgian drivers, maybe a few French drivers as well. But I do feel like this track is the most foreign to me out of everyone. So you can see here, really, I'm just trying to get into a bit of space, kind of, well, not really trying to get into a bit of space. You can see a few mistakes there. We're going to let this driver through. We are keen to learn off other people. We know that other people have more experience than ourselves, and yeah, it's not going to be, I mean, this is the most, you know, difficult thing you can do. Throw yourself into a competitive race abroad as well, where it's more likely to be competitive. Particularly in a situation like this, where I think this was a Sodi World Series race. I didn't even know. You know, that's not on my mind at all. But it's good to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And this was certainly it for me. I mean, you know, I barely know the track, barely know the karts. I've got 4 laps to get a decent lap time in, and then I'm in a race with 23 other drivers. That's not easy. So you can see here we're now following this driver ahead of us, who actually goes on to be one of the quickest drivers of the day, and I'd say that he has made a mistake here, but we're going to forgive him because he already did start to gap us. And yeah, this is the last, well, this is the 3rd lap out of the 4th then for qualifying. So I've only just woken up, and yeah, we're about to do the qualifying lap for it. So this is not easy at all. You can see how tight these sections are. I've made the same error again, 2 laps in a row there. So confidence not very on the high, but this was expected. We knew it was going to be like this. But this is it. This is the last lap for qualifying. What have we got? What have we learned in 3 laps? You can see a fairly steady start to sector 1. You can see decent turning in, no oversteer there really. So it's been an okay start to the lap, and can't be too disappointed with that. Yeah, as I say, 24 drivers in the race, and I think a lot of these drivers actually hadn't done this layout before. As you can see, I make a major error there hitting the tire wall. So easy to hit that tire wall. Because it kind of banks just as you go into that corner, so wherever you're placed, you just end up taking it tighter than you'd think you would. But yeah, 23 other drivers on this one. I think a few people didn't do, I think they made a very minor tweak to the layout very recently, but you know, nothing substantial, to be honest. You can see here, turning in a bit early. The last thing I want to do is turn in too late and lose a lot of time. But yeah, we're not looking confident, we're not looking settled, but this was completely expected, really. But it was going to be cool to see how I kind of got on. I mean, I wasn't expecting to win or anything like that. God no, the races abroad are way more difficult. But we crossed the line then, and where have we qualified? We have qualified 14th. 14th out of 24th. You know what? I will take that in a race full of locals. First time, 3-4 laps in, and we've already 14th. We'll take that. You know, obviously if this was UK, I'd be distraught, but it's not. Rental karting is taken way more seriously across the rest of Europe than the UK does. I mean, I think the UK is starting to catch up a little bit. Rental karting is really starting to grow in the UK. I think rental karting is in a good place in the UK, but in terms of, I mean, these guys are doing it religiously in terms of how they understand it, the learning process and everything like that, the training, everything like that is a different level at this country. You can see here a very hectic start to the race. Karts everywhere, making good progress in the first few corners. People coming to blows as well. You can see drivers ahead as well. I think there was a driver about 7 karts further along the field, waving his arm around the air, asking for a restart. I have no idea what's happened there. We got loaded into that corner, which was disappointing because this is not exactly a track I feel like, especially in this moment, where I'm going to be able to catch people up easily. But we're in an okay spot. I think this is a good place to be. The drivers ahead do look quick. You can still missing apexes left, right, and centre. And yeah, we're just kind of sitting pretty. Made a few places, so not a disastrous start. There's a lot of people pitting already. So now a little bit of a gap opening up, and really let's just see if we can keep up with these people. It's not going to be very easy. I think a little bit of battling going on ahead as well, with Matthias Grüßen, who goes for a move, gets it done, very nice. And we're alongside this driver here, but as I've learned from watching in quali, it can easily come to blows through that section. So, and we know this driver on ahead is quicker than us, so it's just better to kind of follow. This driver ahead just got taken out, so we're going to capitalise on that. However, didn't make me feel too comfortable at the thought of being ahead of that driver, because I knew he was just going to be able to get back past again. I'd rather follow him and see where he's quicker. I mean, at the moment it's probably going to be everywhere. I'm still trying to learn the track, the geography of it all. This section I thought I was pretty good at, not this corner specifically, but the fast right-hander. I seem to be pretty decent through there, braking a lot later than most people. But yeah, I mean, we're only 7 laps into me actually doing this track, and I don't think we're doing too badly. We've got another person pitting ahead of us here, and we're going to keep moving forwards then, see if we can catch up to these drivers ahead. And two karts ahead of us is Matthias Grüßen, who is very experienced with this track, as are a lot of people in this race. But Matthias Grüßen is a double world champion and knows what he's doing when it comes to rental karting, so he's a good driver to follow. I see this driver who got spun out has caught up to me a lot. I'm really not making any progress on the drivers ahead, so I wanted to let him through. I'm not taking this first race that seriously anyway. I just want to learn the track, and that ends up being a decision that really, I don't know, I feel like it didn't make sense, because this driver ahead of us now, 2 drivers ahead of us, has been given the, I think it was the orange flag, I forgot what flag they use for it now. It was the bad pass flag, so you had to let him back through, and we weren't able to follow through, so we could have just gained a free position there, but we didn't. So not too sure how I feel about that, but you know, the point is that I wanted to follow him so I could kind of learn the track a little bit more. But you can see here driver ahead making mistakes as well. It's far from an easy circuit, very technical, constantly busy on the steering, so it can get quite knackering, I've got to be honest, especially when you're carrying God knows how much lead. Oh yeah, that reminds me, this was an 85 kilogram minimum weighted race, so yes, I'm not running at no weight here. You can see I was about to put my hand up to pits. You do need to do a pit stop in these races, which is very common in racing in Europe, and is only becoming a little bit more popular in the UK, that sort of concept. I was going to pit there, but then the 2 drivers ahead pitted, but it just makes it a bit too difficult to make a pit stop if you go in following people directly, which you'll see. But now it's kind of, you know, clear air. Can we actually catch any drivers up? I mean, the driving is starting to get a little bit better. I think we're on about a 9th lap or 10th lap in total so far of learning this track. And apart from a little bit of oversteer there, you know, we're starting to get the hang of it. You know, this is very much out of my comfort zone. Just throwing yourself into a race like this with basically no practice, full of people who are obviously not the sort of drivers you'd normally race, or obviously do this religiously, and particularly this track. Even the briefing was in a language I didn't understand, so I got the gist of it. I got a mini 1-minute rundown. I thought, yep, very good. I think I know what I'm doing, sort of thing. But yeah, you can see here the driving is starting to look that little bit better. And yeah, there was a bit of a confidence boost, but we weren't exactly making any inroads in the drivers ahead. But if we skip along a little bit, then we are going to actually pit now. So this is coming towards, I think, the end of the race, or maybe midway through. I don't know. But we're going to follow Matthias Gruten in, and we're going to get a pit stop done. You can see here, like, the sort of traffic jam build up here on the pit stop. So you have to pull up to the 2 pit lines, and then you need to go at a time you think that when you cross the loop, that's a little bit further on, that you're going to hit it over 25 seconds. Now I messed up a little bit because I should have got in between those lines a little bit quicker. I didn't realise how quick the timer goes. But we come out in front of this driver and we are defending, but then he pushes us wide. And I didn't really think that was justified. It did annoy me a little bit. I didn't do anything wrong to this driver. But no, he's just ploughed into the back of me and pushed me wide. So there you have it. But don't worry. Karma will take care of things, as it always does. And obviously we're still not looking that quick. He gets a little bit of a gap on us now, but it's all kicking off in front of us. You know, remember we started 14th here. I'm not too sure where we are at the moment in this given time because there's so many pit stops and stuff going on, but it's all about to kick off. You can see here going on in their very new section then. Driver ahead, bosh, complete takeout there. And we've made 3 spaces in one corner there. We actually went for a move on this driver here, the guy who pushed us out of the way, and the driver ahead taking a revenge attack on the other driver. I think something happened earlier on in the lap, and because I went for the move on the other driver, that forced him to have to go round the spun driver, and we gained 3 places in one corner. Brilliant stuff. And that suddenly made me feel like all the time I lost earlier, probably, you know, with giving a place up and not doing the pit stop great, it actually ended up turning into my favour. I didn't end up in the middle of all that, so happy days. And I was very interested to see where I was going to finish in this. I mean, this is the first race, and I'm really enjoying the layout. It's super fun, just not very quick. Obviously we've got loads of drivers on our tail now, so now it's going to be all about defence, and I think we are going into the last lap here, and now it's just starting to kind of close the door a little bit, place our kart in the right places. You know, overtaking, defending, it all goes hand in hand no matter what track you do. You know the rules, you know how you're expected to pull it off, so it's not like you have to learn the areas to defend or anything like that. You just naturally do it. And going in deep into this corner, it really opens up here. I was worried about not getting a very good run out of the corner, but it was still better than the driver behind. But I'm constantly looking behind me now. The driver ahead he's gone. There's no chance I'm going to be able to catch him. And but the drivers behind, the traffic jam of 4 or so drivers, yeah, that poses a problem. But we're doing good here, just trying to defending, and we're actually in a really decent position considering this is the first race that I've done, and I've basically gone in with no practice. You know, weighted as well, which is never easy. You know, it always helps if you've done the track a million times. But unfortunately, we're not that lucky. However, P9 finish in the first heat, we will take that absolutely. Very pleased with that. In terms of our fastest lap as well, we were about lapping. Well, we didn't do a great fastest lap, I'll be honest. The driver ahead was also half a second quicker. But there you go. This is heat 2 then, and this is our single flying lap, our 1 lap quali. So obviously the first heat we got a few laps to warm up. For me it was a big load of learning, but now this is our first actual attempt at doing just a 1 lap quali all on its own. And a little bit of oversteer there, but otherwise the lap had started quite well. Heading into this section, all about being late on the brakes. A little bit hesitant on the steering wheel, not quite got the gist of how the tyre wall bends there, knowing where to place the kart. But we're trying to be as smooth as possible through here. We're quite good through here, braking late, turning in, using all the track available, turning in a little bit better there. Obviously this is a different kart as well, so in the first race I had kart 9, which will mean nothing to you as a viewer. I had kart 2 in this one. This is probably my least favourite kart out of all of them, but another driver proved that you could do very well with this kart, so there you go. It just shows what you can do with confidence. But where did we qualify? 14th again. Can you believe that? Even after a bit of practice, we qualify exactly the same. 14th place then. Can we make any decent progress on the start? being hit around a little bit from behind us. Side by side ahead of us, it never really ends well, and you can certainly see this is not going to end well. This driver ahead throws Matthias into the wall and ends up taking out another driver, and I get loaded into the wall. What an absolute disaster. Complete disaster start for heat number 2. This driver's quite smart, as I've just seen this person get ruined in the wall, so I'm going to let him back through. So yeah, I'm thankful for that guy. Yeah, quite peeved off, obviously, but at the same time not. It's not really a lot I could have done there. If I was any more to the inside, then I would have got caught up with the driver who was spun. So just got unlucky, really, just loaded into the wall, but now we're right near the back. We're talking like at least 21st or so, really far down. We're going to change it up for our strategy. You can see it's not very easy for me to overtake. I mean, I could spend some time trying to practice, but I'm actually keen to try and see where I can position myself. I've got to be totally honest, I was quite surprised at only qualifying P14, as I thought I did quite well, but I didn't. So clearly not. I mean, everyone's just so good, and they just know the layout of this so well. Fast forward after the pit stop, we kind of came out on our own. We did eventually catch this driver, while simultaneously the driver who got spun out was catching us as well. So they're actually right on my tail. But all focus is on this driver ahead, who just made a small error there. And we are going to straight line it to the apex. Decent move. Boom. Onwards we move. And obviously we're completely out of, well, I say completely out of position. I wouldn't say that, but we should be a little bit further up. That's for sure. But I really enjoyed this event, I've got to be honest. Really well run. I always like this track, especially with this new layout. You can see here the driver I was on about who got spun round. Great move up the inside. I was expecting it. I wasn't going to defend it. I was hoping that I could follow him to see just how quick he was. And he ended up actually being a really fast driver in the race. I'm actually going to look at how fast he really was. And yeah, he was definitely a little bit quicker than me. Just having a look at the times. And not far off the drivers who are near the front as well. You can see we're following fairly okay to begin with. Through this section I didn't really feel that confident, I've got to be honest. The exit speed, I never really had it. Not really making use of all the space available. And again, getting so close to that tyre wall is devastating, these tyre walls. If you touch them a little bit, you lose a lot of speed. So precision driving, really, really important. And you know, you can still see I'm a little bit rusty. I've got a bit of practice to do before I catch up to these guys, especially around this track. But it's a completely different sort of environment, you know. Yes, it's a kart and a kart on a track, but it's a different type of surface, a different kind of place, you know. No one speaks your language. Well, they do, but it's not their main language. But we've done fairly all right to stay up with this driver. But over time, it has to be said, I not really able to keep up with him, because the only reason why I'm keeping with at the moment is because he's just making a few errors. But his natural speed, if he wasn't to make any mistakes, is certainly a lot quicker than us. And we are going to move it on a little bit then, further on in the race. And actually the race finished. Nothing else really happened, to be honest. Finished a very upsetting 17th. Yeah, so we actually did better in the first race, and we didn't even know what we were doing. This time we moderately knew what we were doing, and we still got absolutely beaten up. Yes, the start didn't really help, but I didn't really see me finishing much higher than 12th in that one. But we move into the last one, you know, we remain optimistic. Maybe we can do something. We're going to follow double kart champion Matthias Gruten for this. Spoke about it before the race, said, you know, if you come follow me and maybe finish a bit higher up, and I thought, yep, I could do with that. So here we go. This is the one lap quali then, and my eyes are glued to the rear of Matthias's kart then, just kind of following where he's going. And I felt a little bit more confident as well. I think this kart felt a little bit nicer to drive as well, so that was good. Really nailed that corner there, getting some decent exit speed. Again, still not exactly the perfect first sector, but not too bad as well. Being fairly careful on the brakes here, a little bit of oversteer snap as well, which isn't going to help. And we lost a little bit of ground to Matthias in that section, but we are going to try and bring it back again into my favourite section here, braking late, turning it in, touching the tile as well, but really are pushing it. And again, 24 drivers in this race, so every 100th matters. You see so many positions being covered by so little time, so any small mistake is going to cost you a few positions. And this lap, I wasn't too disappointed with it, I've got to be honest. It was, you know, because all things considered, you know, this ain't my local. This is a very different environment, but we got 6th position. Mate, we'll take that. We'll happily take that. We won't take this start, though. Pretty poor start. We've already lost the next driver there. Could have been on it a little bit more than that. But here we go. 6th place. This driver ahead already clipping the side, and it was so easy to do that. You can see the side of the barriers, how they stick out. Yeah, you touch it once and it's game over really for that lap anyway. But we're going to try and keep with then. We felt quite confident in quali, but you know, I did that lap and thinking, yeah, it was a good lap, but can I do it lap by lap by lap? I'm not sure I've got the experience yet for that. At this track anyway, I think, you know, we talk about if it was a UK, if it was a Club 100 round, yes, I'd be pretty confident that I could be pretty consistent, but this is unknown territory to us. But look, the 3rd race, you know, with no practice, and we're running P6, we will certainly take that very happily. In terms of our qualifying for this one, obviously we were P6, we were only a 10th and a half away from 4th, sorry, from 3rd. So we really weren't far off. We were 2.5 tenths off 2nd place. So we really did have a good lap in quali, but you can already see we're starting to lose the rear of these karts ahead of us. And there is a driver just behind, and I know he's coming for me. I know he's going to go for it, and here we go. And it's that same driver again from earlier who we know is quick. So we ain't disappointed. He says, go forward. I'm like, yep, absolutely, because I love how he does that, because really, in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm just going to go backwards, mate, you crack on. But we're going to see if we can keep up with him, you know, maybe surprise ourselves. Not quite able to shoot out the corners with as good of a speed as they do. He runs a different line through there, goes in a little bit deeper, so that's something to think about. But I've got to be honest, in these races where, especially when we get into race 3 and we're trying to, you know, get a little bit more settled in, it's hard to try different lines out when you're already in a race. You know, you want it to be a practice when you want to try different things out, because if you do make a mistake or it goes horribly wrong, you know, it'll just be a practice and you can just revert what you're doing in the next lap. But with it being a race situation, you don't want to lose any unnecessary time, so you kind of stick to what you know. At least that's what I kind of do. But it looks like what I know is a good foundation. I think we're getting there. We're being a bit smoother on the steering as well. Trying not to get distracted by the shaking natter panel. But we're still with this driver. I can't believe it. We've done well to keep tight through there as well. Getting struggling with a bit of hopping through there, and that corner it can hop for you quite badly sometimes. Depends how you approach it. But yeah, it really does bog you down. Again, a little bit too much oversteer through these corners where we're just not getting the exit that we want because of it. The last thing you want is to get oversteer as you've just got to the apex and you should be flat on the throttle, and instead you're sliding. It's not what you want. But you have to have a really good feel on the car and the feel for the surface to be able to do that. But you know, it's quite a quiet start to this race, really. I mean, we're not actually in any threat from behind in this moment. Obviously, we're just doing the odd little check every now and again, just so we know. But we're not going to be erratically looking around. We're just staying focused in front, seeing if we can keep up with these drivers. See if we can just improve on the consistency, because obviously there was bugger all consistency in race 1. And let's not talk about the warm-up. Here, this driver ahead of us decides to go into the pit lane. I think, okay, that's cool, because as you can see, we've actually naturally caught up to these drivers ahead. I think they did battle a little bit, but you know, the progress is there. I mean, these drivers are running third, I think, third or fourth. So yeah, this is a good place to be. And yeah, I did like this kart a little bit more than the previous one, but the sad fact is a driver running in third place has had my kart from the previous heat, so it just goes to show that you can do well in karts that you don't think are very good. And I unfortunately just didn't have the experience ready for that. You can see Matthias pitted, and then you can see this driver pitted as well after that. I think it was Antoine, not totally sure. So now we're running in clear air then, but we're coming towards the end of the race, and we need to do the lap of our lives on this one. if we want to jump these drivers. So a good first lap, good first corner, a decent right-left section there. Make a good use of the track here. This is a good start to this lap. We need this to be a good lap. We're going to pit this lap. We don't want to miss the pit stop. You can pit anywhere from the first lap to the second to last lap. And I think this was the third to last lap. But I didn't want to risk it, you know. The last thing you want to do is miss a pit stop. But this is looking better. Look at me. Look at this lap. This is great. We're actually getting a little bit more confidence. And feeling like we actually know how to drive a car. Because when you do these events abroad, you know, you kind of feel like you've forgotten everything and you don't know how to do it. You're used to a certain way. In the UK, it's, you know, especially with team sport, you're used to biz karts, or you're used to a specific type of Sodi car. But you're not used to this combination. You know, you get different combinations wherever you go. Well, we're pitting here, and skimming to where we actually go in between the two lines, and we're going to go at just 21 seconds. Should have gone a little bit earlier than that, to be honest. As long as we cross the timer loop after 25 seconds, then we've done the pit stop correctly. And we don't jump to drivers, unfortunately. We've really caught up to Matthias Gruten, so that is good. Good signs of progress. Are we able to stick with him? Well, the answer was no. He capped us a little bit here. So yeah, that was a little bit disappointing. I won't lie. I came out the pit lane, bashed the tyre wall, and lost all my time. But that's the thing with this track, is just such fine limits, you know. Not used to this sort of, you know, everything just comes at you so fast. But that's why it was really enjoyable. But this is the last lap then, and actually my best lap. In fact, this lap, I managed to get 4th quickest in the whole race. So even though we're running 7th right now, this was the 4th quickest lap of the race, and we've got the 6th quickest lap out of every competitor. So out of 30 drivers, who I'm going to claim are all locals, because I feel the most foreign out of everyone. 6th out of 30 of those, I'm happy with that. I'm pleased. I think I made progress. Yes, there's so much time still to be made. I was still 4/10 off the fastest driver in this. I was 2/10 off second place, well, the second fastest driver. So there's still time to find, consistency to be had. But overall, I'll take it. P7, you know, first time, and I mean that's as much as you can do when you're doing these events. Throw yourself in the deep end. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a good end of your year, and see you in 2025.